Hello and welcome to the British Gaming Podcast. It is the 3rd of November. Jesus, the year is disappearing quickly. 2015. I'm your host, Sam. With me, as always, is Richie Savage.
Hello.
Terry Kane.
Hi.
And now, Peter Bunyan.
Hello again.
We've got a fair few bits to get through this week, so as always, what we've been playing this week, my question of the week. Then we're looking very briefly at the Microsoft Xbox One wireless adapter, Arkham Knight. There's some more stuff to talk about, who'd have thought. British tabloids blaming video games for the TalkTalk hack. The Golden Joystick Award winners. New legislation that allows the preservation of single-player abandonware. And, of course, your questions of the week, including some questions from last week, which I believe they got posted just as we were going live, so apologies for that.
Yeah, we did the record a night early, so I think we kind of threw it off.
Right, so by the time Lupacillo posted his questions, we'd already gone. Right, I got you. So, opening it up, what have people been playing this week? I don't have the physical wheel. I binned that out of shame. So, and plus it didn't have Pete's name on it. So I'm just going to open it up. Whoever wants to take it.
Well, what are you playing when I got here?
I was playing Wolfenstein again because I haven't finished it yet. I've also been playing a bit of an old classic, Flat Out 2. I love that game and it runs really well on my work laptop. So there's that. I've also been playing quite a bit of GTA, and I played I played the latest Ridge Racer Unbounded. I've not really played that very much until the other day, and I forgot how much I enjoyed it when I did give it a go. So I'm definitely going to be playing through that.
Okay. Terry?
Yeah, I've been playing a bit of Ridge Racer Unbounded as well, coincidentally. I used to have it on PS3, but I got in one of the recent Namco Humble Bundles for PC, and
okay.
I think you might enjoy it, Sam. It feels very similar to like the old Burnout games.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah,
I might go for that.
Other than that, oh, God, what have I been playing this week? I'm not even sure. I've not really been doing as much gaming as I normally do this week. I've tried out this game called Time Clickers. I did a stream on that. It's a bit of a weird one. It's kind of like... Have any of you guys played Adventure Capitalist?
No.
No. I did watch some of your Time Clickers one, though, and I had no idea what was going on. It looks like one of those games. I didn't really watch it from the start. I feel like I'd have to probably watch it from the start to understand exactly what you were doing.
It's literally one of those games where you just like choose a few options and let it do its own thing.
It
you
can bit sort of cookie clicker or whatever it's called.
Oh, sort of like Plague Inc., where you just sort of set up your virus and then just watch the virus spread.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I a bit of that, to be honest. It's the laziest game ever to stream because I kind of left it to do its own thing for about an hour and popped out.
Okay, yeah, sounds like a fascinating stream to watch. Richie, what have you been playing?
Mostly I've been playing the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth DLC, which came out on Friday, day before Halloween.
Nice.
Added loads of new items, loads of new stuff, so I've been playing that pretty constantly. Some new modes, new bosses.
Enjoying it?
What was that?
Enjoying it?
Yeah, it's really good actually. It's added a whole new element to the game. If anything, it's made it harder, which is quite frustrating. But the game was quite hard anyway. It's just managed to make the difficulty curve even steeper. So outside of that, been playing some GTA 5. As always, the Halloween DLC. I tried to buy some of the cars on there, but they're so expensive that I couldn't.
It is prohibitive.
That, there's a little sort of game on my phone that I've been playing quite a lot. I can't remember the name of it, but I've got my phone here, so let's have a look. I don't know if any of you played it. It's Crossy Road. Anyone play that?
Oh, I think I have played that.
It's the one where you just tap the screen and you're sort of crossing roads. It's a bit like Frogger.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of style. You get from one side of the road to the other, avoiding shit, basically, like cars and trains, and don't drown in the lake and all things like that. It's very addictive and very simple.
So exactly like Frogger then.
It basically is Frogger. It's
Yeah.
updated Frogger.
Have you just been playing Frogger?
It's a bit like Candy Crush is obviously the modern version of Bejeweled. It's that sort
Don't
of thing.
say that, we'll get sued.
Someone's monetized it.
Oh, no.
Thing.
King got bought by Activision, so...
Oh, King, didn't they?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah, King got bought by Activision, so Candy Crush is now brought to you by the same people as Call of Duty, which is interesting.
Can you imagine a crossover?
Yeah, I really wish I couldn't imagine it. However, now I can, so thank you for that.
You know what? They should put Candy Crush in as like the little. You know when you sometimes get those little like loading screen games where you're just like, oh, rather than sitting around just watching it load, you get to like play a little game or whatever.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but people won't want to leave the loading screen because they'll get addicted.
This is true.
Or you have to pass the Candy Crush level to get to the Call of Duty level.
And if you can't pass the Candy Crush level, they'll
pass the controller.
Well, that's not their formula anymore, is it?
If you can't, hang on,
Anyway.
guys, if you can't get past the Candy Crush level, it gives you the option of making a microtransaction to skip the Candy Crush loading screen and get to the level.
But the whole point of the loading screen is that it has to load the game, though.
It's cynical humour, Pete.
Don't give them ideas.
Anyway, this side, I've still been playing some more of the original Tomb Raider on PlayStation 1. I played some Dead Rising 2 off the record because I've had that from a Halloween sale last year for like £3, and I just hadn't touched it yet, so I booted that up for a bit. Surprisingly fun. Well, I don't know why I say surprisingly. I liked Dead Rising. I liked Dead Rising 2. It stood to reason that I would like Dead Rising 2 off the record.
And then you don't like the look of Dead Rising 3?
Yeah, I really don't. I just don't. I actually read the plot synopsis for Dead Rising 3 because I was like, I'm not going to get an Xbox One. I'm unlikely to play the game. Yes, I realise I could probably just get the PC version. I was like, I'm never going to play it. Let's just read the plot synopsis. And the plot for 3 is like a bad fucking fanfic. Oh, Isabella from the first game is in it, and oh, Chuck Green from the second game is in it, and it sounds like shit.
If it went on a Steam sale for like £3, would you still not get it?
Then it becomes a maybe. You might be able to twist my arm at that point. It just sounds really crap. If I'm being completely honest. But no, Dead Rising 2 off the record is fun. I had to watch the kids while the missus popped out over the weekend, and I got the Nintendo 64 down, put that in, some Mario 64, some Donkey Kong 64, some Diddy Kong Racing. The kids seemed to enjoy that. I know I definitely enjoyed it. So
I thought you said your N64 broke.
It seems to be certain games, for example, Super Mario 64 has started randomly resetting itself, so it's like a soft reset back to the title screen.
That's the games themselves, though, not the console.
That's exactly what I just said, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you can when it's up, you can rewind at 5 seconds, and you'll hear me say, it seems to be the games rather than the console. Anyway.
Well, you said it seems to be on specific games, implying that the console is just messing up with certain games and not others.
No, implying that it's the games. So yeah, that's about it. Oh, and of course, Batman Arkham Origins. I've been playing that as a Let's Play, so that's been going on my new Let's Play channel, which people can have a watch of if they'd like.
I'm not subscribed to yet. I meant to, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah. You can also find the channel on the British Gaming blog actual YouTube page on the featured channels bit now too.
Oh, fantastic. I really should have thought to have done that, so thank you for doing that for me. Because I'm a pleb.
Subscribe to you now, so.
No worries, it was Peter's idea.
Oh, thank you, Pete.
I'm the only one here without a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, Pete, you should probably sort that out, mate. You might want to get a YouTube channel. If you want to really reap the benefits of being...
I know, but it can be ours as well.
Given the problems we had setting this up today, he's not a very good tech guy.
That's good points out.
Yeah. But, right, so, question of the week. I'm just going to keep it very simple this week. Favorite video game power-up?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm gonna call the Chaos Emeralds because I think the supersonic form could technically class as a power up. Hear me out. You get the power up from an item. The Chaos Emeralds collectively are one item. It increases your speed. It makes you invincible. Supersonic is a power up as far as I'm concerned.
No, I'm not disputing it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, just because it's the first one I can think of off the top of my head, I'm gonna go with the bazooka from Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
Oh, is that more a weapon than a power up?
Well, you unlock it as it calls it a power up in the game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
And like he seems to just like pull it out of his arse or out of nowhere as well. So like it seems to become part of him.
Yeah, but that's like asking if Lara Croft can really fit all that stuff in that tiny little backpack.
She could probably fit most of it in her cleavage.
Okay. That's why she had triangle
Triangle
tits.
storage.
Yeah. There was nothing inside her tits apart from her actual inventory. That's why they're so pointy.
They're pointy because it's like the magnums with the handle of the magnum on the outside, right?
Yeah.
And then like the top of the gun is sitting just at the bottom of her ribcage, so the gun's upside down. And that's I'm putting too much thought into this.
Oh dear.
Someone please jump in with their favourite power up and save me.
Yeah, you guys.
Okay, I'm going to go with, because I've been playing it a lot, as a power-up, well, I suppose it's a power-up, it's a bit like a transformation, so I'm going to call it a power-up. In The Binding of Isaac, if you collect 3 cat pieces, you turn into a little cat.
Sorry,
Called
cat
Guppy.
pieces.
Cat pieces, yeah, like pieces of a cat. You can collect the cat's tail, and the cat's paw, and the cat's
So
head.
this is a cat that's been chopped up and then just left around Isaac's mum's
So
basement.
you've gone to
Pretty
the
much,
Asian
yeah.
food market in Binding of Isaac,
Pretty
basically.
much, yeah. But once you get
Right.
3 of them, you turn into Guppy, and every time you hit an enemy with one of your tears, which is what you use to kill enemies,
Yeah.
it spawns an attack fly. So if you hit a lot of things very fast with a lot of tears, you get a lot of flies, and it makes you very overpowered.
Okay. But I guess the chance of those 3 dropping is pretty low.
Yeah, managing to get 3 together in one run is uncommon, but can be done, and it's
Okay.
very nice when it does happen.
Pete,
Yeah, I got nothing on that one.
how can you have nothing? Like, you've even
I've
had
not
all
really
of us
thought
giving...
about I've never ranked power-ups before.
Surely there must be a power-up that came into your mind while we've been talking about ours.
I'm just thinking though, like the games that you play here, like do they really have powers
Yeah,
in them?
they don't really tend to have power-ups, unless you count like Nitro in Burnout. They don't really have them.
I don't know, Trevor's got like his rage mode in GTA 5.
But then that's the special ability he's already got though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
it's not really a power. I guess you could maybe call it a power-up, but
Yeah. If you're going to go that, I'd imagine yours would probably be Franklin's one if you're going to go with GTA anyway.
no, I'm already good enough at driving. Mine would be Michael's.
Did you guys actually use them? I don't think I ever used them throughout the whole game.
I very rare. I kept forgetting about
I
them.
forget about them. I think it's 2 triggers in together to use it.
Yeah,
as well.
It's
really
the two-
awkward.
two buttons.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
mean.
the stick
2
buttons.
joysticks, yeah. Really awkward combination to use.
It
See,
I
is.
don't think I ever used it.
I use Franklin's all the time.
Apart from maybe by accident. I might
The thing is, even when I'm using an Xbox 360 pad with the PC, which is the most ergonomic pad known to man, that is still an awkward button press. And I imagine it's not any easier for you, Terry, on your Xbox One controller.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in the topic.
That was the segue to the topic.
So, alright then, basically the Xbox One controller, you can use it wirelessly on your PC with this adapter they brought out for the price of £20. The problem with it is Microsoft haven't bothered to write any frickin' drivers for it, so you can't get Rumble on it.
Right, so what does it pick up as instead then? Because
So-
obviously this picks up as Games for Windows controller is what my Xbox Ones pick up as.
Yeah, it picked up as a generic X input controller on Device Manager. I thought at first, okay, maybe I've done something wrong here, so let's just see if I can get some help with this. So I ended up calling up Microsoft tech support team.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, So first I get through to Xbox tech support after sort of, going through the options of what best described my problem. And they were clueless, and they put me through to Windows support. They were clueless, put me back to Xbox support. And this went back and forth a good few times. And basically, nobody knew about this issue in the company at all. Eventually, someone was like, well, they'll probably write the drivers at some point.
Just hang on for an indeterminate amount of time.
Pretty much, yeah. I've not seen anything online to mention whether they've been updated or not. I just find it absolutely appalling that they would release something like that without writing the basic drivers for the functionality that's promised from the fucking product.
I'm assuming, with this being you, that you went to Microsoft's site and looked to see if there were any manual drivers that you could download.
Oh, yeah, I went to Microsoft's site, I looked all over the bloody place, I went to a load of tech forums, went to the source themselves, Microsoft Tech Support, as I just said.
Did you try the Xbox 360 controllers? Is there any way to make it pick up as an Xbox 360 controller instead? Is that an option?
Device Manager wasn't actually giving me that option, it was really weird.
Okay.
So, in the end, I took it back to the retailer I got it from, got the refund, and now I've just got a spare Xbox One controller lying around I'm not making any use of at the moment, and I've just gone back to using my 360 controller. So, anyone who's considering getting that for an Xbox One controller, wait until they've released some drivers, and as a fuck you to Microsoft, I'll also advise wait until they bring out a third-party one for cheaper.
So, in the meantime, if we ever want to do, like, a podcast prize draw, we've got an Xbox One controller knocking about that someone could probably
let's give away faulty merchandise.
Yeah, the controller's fine.
I've got a 360 that doesn't work. Who wants that?
To be fair, I think we should put a big asterisk on this. Xbox One controller works perfectly fine with an Xbox One.
Yeah. As well as that, it also works if you wire it up to a PC with a micro USB cable. The Rumble's fine with that.
I was going to ask you about that, because I thought about getting a wired Xbox One controller.
Oh, okay, so if you put it in wired, does it still pick up as X input, or does it pick up as an actual Xbox controller?
That's the thing, it picks up as an actual Xbox One controller when it's wired in. They just haven't bothered writing the drivers to the dongle yet.
Right, so it's the actual wireless receiver that doesn't have drivers.
That's right.
What happens if you try to use the wireless receiver that they released for the Xbox 360 controllers? Any dice?
It won't pick it up.
It won't pick it up, okay.
It's a different protocol they use. That's why you can't use Xbox 360 controllers with the Xbox One.
Sucks.
It's a shame they didn't make it backwards compatible. I mean, in terms of controllers, because that would have been really handy for a lot of people. I mean, obviously, it's just so that they can make more money, but
I think it was also to do with response times, and they also, I think, wanted more speed for different peripherals as well in the future.
Not to mention maximum speed for that £120 Elite controller they've released now.
That does look pretty sweet, though.
I really want one, but there's no way I can spend 120 quid on a controller.
That looks excessive.
Press the clicks, and you can lock the clicks in a certain place, so it only presses down so far.
And there's 4 configurable buttons on the back as well, so you can put into any face button.
Gorgeous.
But the problem is, at least usually with the console, you can say there's going to be a relatively level playing field because most people tend to use first-party controllers over third-party. Now, Microsoft are like, well, if you're rich enough, you can fire faster in COD,
Yeah, but then I guess, I don't know, I mean, I guess I don't really see that as much of an issue, because, I'm more PC, so, I'm PC, bro.
You see, that's one thing I like about multiplayer on console, at least I can, with a certain amount of confidence, say that the guy who just kicked my ass probably did so with the same equipment I've got. At least I know that I lost through being shit, and not through their controller being more responsive than mine or anything like that.
Again, like I say, I'm used to that kind of thing though online. Because I play with PC, so you get people with high-end keyboards and mice, mechanical keyboards and all that stuff, and I'm just playing with a simple little setup kind of thing. So I don't know.
So in short, when Terry plays online, he dead, bro.
Now, to be fair, even if I had a decent setup, I suck anyway, so...
This is true. I think Kashara Guy made that quite clear. In fact, he wrote something in the comments that I particularly enjoyed. Where was it? Here we...
Yeah, we already discussed that last week.
No, this is after. So once last week's episode went out, he posted a normal comment saying that he didn't think the insults were too bad, actually. Now, here we go. I know this pretty much ended up with Terry supposedly in tears, so I guess I've supposedly accomplished something. Terry, please don't commit suicide. I say this because then myself, the BGB crew, and the rest of the fans will miss your overall dickish nature, and some of those people would have loved to have been blessed by the true way of being a dickhead like yourself. If you do decide on doing the deed, then Sam will have to carry the torch, and he's not as graceful at being a dickhead like yourself.
Hey, I'm more graceful than you, so...
Yeah, you're a graceful dickhead. That's what Kashara's basically said. Yeah. Oh, and he enjoyed your insult, Pete.
Yay!
So well done. But yeah, that made me smile. Yeah.
Well, good for you. We're all happy for you.
One thing that Terry isn't smiling about as well, you were an early adopter of Arkham Knight on PC, and now the patch that was supposed to fix everything is out. Do you want to tell us how you got along with the patch?
Yeah, I'm just like a walking ball of bile and rage this week.
Hey, it has to be someone's turn.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, basically, it's got to the point now where the patch actually made it a little bit worse in terms of performance. It's just random frame drops for no actual reason. Like, I mean, you'd expect
Can you
it to
believe
drop
it?
in a big open environment where there's lots of things going on, but it would be in the middle of like a fight with maybe 2 or 3 thugs. Like, it would happen.
So you waited from the end of June to the end of October while they tinkered away and tried to fix the game, and they made it worse.
Yeah. But they've managed to add the DLC, so obviously, sort of the important stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. And then the best part is that Warner Brothers have now gotten to the point where they're saying, you know what, screw it. If you bought it through Steam, then you get unconditional refund at this point. You can just have your money
back. If you got
back.
through an external CD Keys website, then you're buggered.
Which is your case, isn't it? Yeah.
Thankfully, I only paid like £25 for it though, so I'm not too bothered in terms of price. It's just more the principle of the matter that's irritating me. And
do you want to know what I think has happened with this one? I think it's gotten to a point where, let's say they've had 12 programmers on it, right? And these 12 programmers earn, I'm going to be really generous and say 35 a year, right? And that's the programmers probably sat there like, yeah, you just added an extra 10k to our salaries. Thank you. We wish we got that. So each month, on paying 12 people that salary, is spending 25 grand. Now, how many people purchased the game through Steam? And bear in mind, it was only on Steam for 24 hours. I don't even think it was a full 24 hours before they pulled it, right? Mm. So you're looking at, okay, maybe we're looking at 300 grand in refunds for the game. Yeah? And that's probably a very lowball estimate. It's probably 10 times that amount. It could be 3 million in refunds. But at the same time, now looking at these programmers who costing them, we'll say 35 grand a month, and also while they're costing them 35 grand a month to fix a game that they've already had their money for, those programmers aren't working on new projects that could bring them new customers and new money. So maybe they just looked at the amount they were paying the people to fix the game and went, fuck it, we know it's still broken, we'll say that we've done the patch, and then we'll just offer people unconditional refunds, because at this point, it's actually cheaper for us to refund the people who bought it on Steam. And bear in mind, not everybody will go for that refund.
Yeah, they actually. Another thing as well that they added is basically for those of you who want to just kind of keep your copy and sort of see and give us a chance to continue to try and fix it, then we can do our best to fix what we can and discuss the things that we can't.
Have they actually revealed any of the things that they can't fix?
They haven't, but still, the fact that they've said that is just, really not reassuring in the slightest.
It really isn't.
really
just some things are broken to fuck, and there's no hope. And they're now saying, I think it's 12 gig of RAM on Windows 10.
To get it to stop having this paging file issue, which again just made me laugh.
Like, for me and you, that's not a problem. We've got 16, but I know Richie's got 8. Pete, what have you got in yours?
Well.
Pete's 8 as well, so it'd be a problem for Pete. In fact, Pete, you quite like your hardware and your PC gaming. Where do you weigh in on this? I mean, you probably just think it's a fucking shambles like the rest of us, but it'd be interesting to hear.
It's just ridiculous, really. I mean, to come out and say that for one, just come out and say that you need 12 gig of RAM on Windows 10 is ridiculous. But it just seems that they didn't really test it properly at all.
Well, the team they got
is stuff that quality assurance should have picked up, and they didn't. So I just can't understand how they've done it. And they're not a small developer. They've got thousands of people that probably worked on this game.
But they got a very small team. They got a very small team to do the PC port, and the small team that they got for the PC port had only worked on console releases up to that point. So none of them had any PC. Exactly. To a team that had no PC experience, only console experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know why they didn't just get the team who worked on the PC versions of the previous 3 games to work on it, because they did a good job with those. They've run fantastically. Especially Arkham Asylum. It runs like butter. It's beautiful.
With my Let's Play, I'm starting to regret starting that Let's Play on the PS3 version, because I've noticed on the PS3 version of Arkham Origins, there is frame stuttering, so it is dropping frames and it is noticeable, and it's the game doing that, not the recorder. So
that's the thing. It was sort of late in the PS3's life cycle, so there's going to be a big difference between the PC version and the console version at that point.
Yeah. So I am regretting starting the Arkham Origins Let's Play on PS3, but at the same time, I'm sat there on PS4 with my Arkham Knight this works fucking fine, this is gorgeous.
Are you going to do Asylum on PC then when you Let's Play in City?
Well, no, because Asylum's never had any problems.
Yeah. True.
I mean, that's quite early on in that console generation as well, so the PS3 can fucking take it,
In regards to this Arkham Knight thing, I think the main reason they took it off Steam is to prevent people from getting refunds. Because you think, if people buy it through Steam, they can get their refund. If they buy an external CD key website, which there are plenty of places that are still selling Arkham Knight for the last few months, they're bang out of luck.
Well, the thing is, that was when you make it the only place you can get it, then that's where people are going to go get it.
Exactly. So that's the thing. They were still getting sales, and because of that, there's less refunds to give out.
Which is extremely underhanded, and I do think it's just a cost thing now. Richie, you've been quite quiet on this.
I think you said everything there is to say, really. I don't really have much of an opinion on it because I don't have the game. I'm still playing through the first one.
Wait, you're still going through Asylum? You haven't finished that yet?
No, I haven't got as far as any broken ones yet. I'm still playing the ones at work.
Even I finished Asylum.
Richie,
Afterbirth taken over at the moment. I'm having too much fun.
Have you reached... Do you think that you've reached the point that I've been teasing you about for weeks on end?
No, because I haven't played it since we last discussed it.
Fuck's sake, boy. It's like an 8-hour game. What have you been doing?
Playing other games.
Get on Asylum, damn it, and finish it.
Right.
That's your mission for this week.
Yeah, alright. I'll see if I have time.
Ooh, we're signing missions now.
Yes, I bloody am. I'm a dictator. I'm a dictator, alright?
Really?
Yeah. Who would have guessed?
Shocking.
Yeah. But, we've exhausted that one. So, Speaking of evil stuff such as dictators, video games are evil. Video games cause you to hack mobile phone networks, apparently. British tabloids have jumped all over this 15-year-old kid who basically hacked TalkTalk, who, for those who don't know, are a UK mobile phone operator. And for those who aren't in the UK...
They're landline. They're landline and broadband.
Yeah, well, they do mobile phones, they do landline, and they do broadband.
Oh,
I
okay.
think they dabble in all of them.
Oh, I didn't know they did mobile as well.
They do a bit of everything now.
They've got their fingers in every pie, and as it would seem, other people have got their fingers in
In
their
the
pies.
same pie, yeah.
I think
They're
it's 3 people now, so...
They're a communications company. Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. So this 15-year-old kid hacked them, and the papers were all over, oh, he plays violent video games, and they picked out Grand Theft Auto, because they always pick out Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah.
Resident Evil, and someone help me out here. What was the third?
I think he said he wanted to be a professional Call of Duty player.
That's it, Call of Duty. None of which really have anything to do with hacking.
I know, now if he was playing Deus Ex Human Revolution, then, you know...
Oh, yeah, that's all over. I mean, he'd know that you have to play the mini-game where you've got all the lines and the connecting dots.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like Watch Dogs, you gotta watch everyone on cameras.
Yeah. Or actually, there
It's
is...
probably even easier to get into TalkTalk stuff than just doing that on video games.
I think the only time you hack anything in GTA is the GTA Online mission, Rich Men in Richmond, where you have to repossess the cars, and there's that gate right at the front of the mansion, and you hack that, but it's literally letters are dropping down, and you have to press A when the red letter is in the middle. That's it. So yeah, they went down the whole loner, gamer, always dangerous stereotype. At no point did they mention he's 3 years too young for all 3 of the games mentioned in the article. And at no point did they mention, as I say, that these games are mostly about shooting and guns and not hacking. Do we even know why he hacked them, what he was after, if he managed to pull anything? Did they say anything about that, guys? Or?
I've got no idea. Well, I haven't really looked into it, because there was 2 other people that, but I only saw this thing because it was about games as well.
Okay.
Apparently because they got in for a while, they got everybody's credit card details and address details and stuff. And because they broke in ages ago and they stayed in, so as they were using people's cards, people were going, oh, my card's been nicked, I'll change it. And then they were telling TalkTalk they changed their card. And then they were giving their new card details straight to the hackers again. So, yeah, they were in there for a while. It wasn't like a hit and run thing. It was a
sustained, they were lurking, basically, yeah?
I think they got in using SQL injection as well, which might mean nothing to anybody, but if you know what it is, you know that...
MySQL database.
It's the sort of thing they teach you pretty much in high school now, how to do it and how to prevent people from doing it. And it's the sort of thing where anybody with any reasonable knowledge about security should have prevented. It's not entirely on TalkTalk, but it's basically like the bank, putting the tiniest little lock on the vault and wondering why somebody got in.
Yeah. It's pretty much like, letting a guy in a full ski mask and holding a shotgun enter the bank and walk all the way up to the counter before you think, maybe I should hit an alarm or something. Actually, no, it'd be like letting them sit behind the counter with you, sneaking a tenner from your till every time you open it to serve a customer, letting them sit there doing that for about 3 to 4 months before going, this guy probably shouldn't be here. That's more what this is like, considering they were lurking for ages.
It just shocks me how big companies like this just don't seem to take security seriously at all. I mean, think back to the Sony hacking thing. I mean, how long did that keep the network down for? They're a massive company. When you think that someone who's just basically like a hobbyist essentially is able to get past their security, it's just a joke.
And yet, despite this, the UK government want to make it law that all forms of encryption need to be crackable by the government, which is the dumbest thing in the world, because if the government are a good few years behind everybody else, trust me, and if it's going to be easily crackable for them, it's going to be easily crackable from the very people that we're trying to protect the information from. And that would have severe consequences for banking transactions, any kind of data protection where your details are stored long term, so like hospital records, that kind of thing. Insurance companies would be wide open. It's like you're looking at the government just like, you do not understand how the internet or digital technology works, do you? If you're demanding to have like a master key to decrypt everything.
Yeah. Well, we're being run by a bunch of old men that are Tories, so you know.
Old men who, as soon as you say, but it'll help us catch paedophiles and terrorists, they go, oh, then you have my full support. Richie, you're awfully quiet.
I'm right. I'm enjoying listening to the podcast. It's like listening to it afterwards. It's quite good. You don't say anything. It is like listening to one.
You're supposed to be part of the podcast, mate. So get the fuck in here.
I've got nothing to add.
Richie, do you have anything to add to anything?
Not at the moment. I'll let you know.
All right. Well, while we're talking about legislation in the form of that encryption, we may as well move on to legislation that will allow people to go back to their single-player games, which have been abandoned by the publisher. So this was the Electronic Frontier Foundation managed to get some legislation passed, which basically said that museums, libraries, etc. are now allowed to modify consoles or modify the code of a game to restore single-player functionality after official support has ceased. Is the short version.
It's a bit more specific than that, in that they're only allowed to do it when the game doesn't work because external servers have been disabled, as far as I'm aware.
So this would be things like PC version of Assassin's Creed 2, the DRM there, where you have to constantly be connected to one of EA's servers. Once those servers no longer exist, you're then allowed to circumvent that DRM legally. That's my understanding of it, but you've got a better mind for this kind of thing, Pete. So is that the gist of it, or not?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's only single-player games.
Yeah.
So
no multiplayer.
Yeah, it's nothing like you can't crack Call of Duty and put your own servers in there. I'm just looking it up now just to double check.
So even if they did do multiplayer, and I know they haven't at the moment, but I look at games like Halo 2 on the original Xbox, and it's like, well, there is no online multiplayer for that anymore. Even if people wanted to do their own private servers, would people then turn around and say, yeah, but there's still a version of Halo 2 playable online through the Master Chief Collection on the Xbox One, so, sorry.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tough one when there's been a re-release there, but then even that is only going to be temporary as well because of the fact that it's on a closed sort of network. I mean, that's the thing. It's this kind of thing. It sounds like it's a victory, but it's still only one step in the right direction. Like there's still a lot more to go in regards to game preservation. Like for example, GameSpy that ran a lot of online games on PC a few years back. That got shut down, so now there's a bunch of games you can't play online anymore as a result, such as Crysis 2, Unreal Tournament 3, a few other games like that. And I just find it absolutely hilarious that you can't play Unreal Tournament 3 online, but you can play Unreal Tournament 2004 online.
Okay, so this obviously affects single-player games at the moment.
I've got the wording here. Apparently, the exemption has been granted for video games that require communication with an authentication server to allow gameplay when the requisite server is taken offline. So it's sort of like I know, like Crysis 1 checks the internet to see what time. Strangely enough, Crysis 1 checks the internet to find out if the time is after the release date of the game before it let you play it. And
interesting.
There are other games, but I think this doesn't cover the majority of games. It's not games like, obviously you can't just play it doesn't make your ROMs for Mega Drive and that legal. because it doesn't cover that, even though they're not available anymore.
Well, no, Mega
There's
Drive
not a whole
games
lot of
never needed
games
to
where
connect to
single
an
player
authentication server. There was no authentication server in the days of Mega Drive, so you can still pick up the originals, put them in, and they go. I'm actually struggling to think of any single-player game that has been rendered unplayable because of the loss of an authentication server.
That's exactly what my question was going to be. I was going to say, can anyone actually think of any examples it's affected so
Yeah.
far?
I mean, Assassin's Creed 2 is the only one I could think of, and I think that's still officially supported.
I think they actually got rid of that DRM in the end as well because of the backlash.
Oh, so they pulled a SimCity, basically.
Pretty
Because I know
much.
SimCity was relying on connecting to a remote server, and then they said it's impossible for it not to run on a server. And then they went ahead and made it so that you didn't have to connect to a server anyway, despite saying it was impossible. Which was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing with this is it practically, I don't think it's really changed anything, but I think in terms of the whole kind of paradigm, I think it's sort of, I think it's a step in the right direction, if you get what I mean. I think it's sort of getting
Do you
people thinking
think
more about this kind of thing, thinking more about preservation.
Do you think this could backfire? Because one thing that I do see here is that there may be some treasured games, let's call them treasured legacy games, yeah? Where actually the publisher or the developer or whoever have kept a server or two online for the authentication, simply out of goodwill, who are now going to be looking at this legislation and saying, well, we can shut it off in good faith that the fans will then sort it out for themselves. Could we potentially be shooting ourselves in the foot here?
I can't imagine many companies doing that, keeping a server running for what's essentially abandonware.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, yeah.
I think you might see that happen, but I mean, it's going to be a minority of cases.
Like
isn't
a
it?
couple of, like EA in particular might go, well, this game, we were going to give it like a 2-year lifespan on, the server for the DRM. Actually, now that this legislation is there and we can rely on the community to do it for themselves, we're only going to leave it on for 18 months. Boom.
I think the handy thing about this kind of thing, though, is like if there's abandonware games that are still kind of getting a following in the community, this will sort of help people keep it live, kind of thing, and keep it distributed and going around. And then, after that, you'll probably see these games appearing on like Steam and Good Old Games and things like that. Like, for example, System Shock 2 is one of my favourite examples of this. I've referred to it previously a few times.
Oh, you have, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you think before 2012. The only way you could get it was on eBay on a disc, like legitimately, or to pirate it, basically. And there's loads of people still talking about this game on forums. So, that half of these people were not playing a legitimate copy of that game. On top of that as well, it was made for Windows 98, so there was fan-made cracks to get it to work on like XP, Vista 7, etc. And then eventually, Good Old Games ends up re-releasing it, getting it to work on Windows 7 and everything, working all perfectly fine, because of the hype it still had around it. So piracy actually helped that game.
Yeah, I know. We've talked very specifically about that one before. Why do I get the feeling that Richie's sat on his laptop right now looking for a list of single-player games that were rendered unplayable?
That would be the case, but I don't have my laptop in front of me. My laptop's sat in the bag. Normally, I would be Googling topics.
You'd be tapping away like...
I think that's the problem. I think that's why I'm not talking so much, because I can't Google things quickly to find out what we're talking about.
All you give to this podcast is just stuff from online.
Well, it's not that. It's not that I just read.
He's our real-time researcher.
I don't do much research before the podcast, so I do it during the podcast.
Richie, when will you learn?
See, I'm good at reading the headline and getting angry and a bit opinionated.
Terry's like one of those people in the pub. He's skimmed the entire newspaper. He knows everything he needs to know.
I'm like Britain First, except I'm not a horrible racist dick.
Yeah, pretty much. He's never going to turn around and be like, yeah, but the Chinese,
Yeah, pretty much.
But no. They're protesting one of our great British industries. Yeah, because they're paying below the national minimum wage and they got caught. Oh, I didn't read the article, I just read the headline. Right,
Yeah.
okay. I guess I had good reason to protest. Carry on.
Bringing this back to video games, I think this kind of this seems to be. I'm hoping this is going to be an important milestone in the fact that they've obviously gotten the powers that be to now recognise that there is an issue with games that you can't legally get hold of and that you can't play anymore. So they've
Yes.
obviously started to recognise there's an issue with abandonware. And hopefully they'll try and maybe reform it a little bit more in the future, just taking baby steps towards being able to say that if there is, maybe if there is no way of getting hold of a game, then why shouldn't it be released out there into the wild?
It's going to be a catalyst for change, isn't it? I mean, this is just sort of step one, really, isn't it? People will look at this and then they'll say, "Oh, that's great, but what about this?" And then it might inspire further change. So
Yeah.
It's a jumping off point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, should we have a chat about the golden joysticks?
Not your best segue, but yeah.
It's just quite blunt, isn't it? It's like, this is on the docket. We've
Yeah.
sort of said everything we can say about that one. Let's have a
Yeah.
punt at this one.
So, looking at his list, it seems like Witcher 3 and Grand Theft Auto got quite a few awards each.
As did Bloodborne. I mean, you look, Bloodborne got Best Original Game and PlayStation Game of the Year. But then it missed out on Ultimate Game of the Year. Ultimate Game of the Year went to Witcher 3. Then it makes me wonder if Witcher 3 had been console exclusive, probably would have knocked Bloodborne off its throne there. But those two seem to have a good little battle. Though saying that, Xbox Game of the Year is Ori and the Blind Forest. So I'm not...
I've never even heard of
No,
that.
nor have I.
No.
To the internet.
This is where, at home, I would then go on YouTube and watch a video of it.
Published by
Yeah.
Microsoft Studios.
Yeah.
Single player only platform adventure game designed by Moon Studios.
Yeah. It looks and feels very indie.
Apparently it was inspired by The Lion King and The Iron Giant.
Well, there you go.
Can you
apparently
get much
the
more indie?
Apparently the gameplay is inspired by Rayman and Metroid.
Yeah, it did pick up Best Audio as well, I should mention.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
What is that?
Are these
Best
annual
Audio.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
golden joysticks? How come GTA 5's on there?
I think
it's
they're
like-
talking
like
about
2
the
years old.
PC release.
Yeah, the PC was
PC
released as
specifically. Oh, okay.
in between these awards and the last awards,
Right,
I think.
gotcha.
Yeah, the problem is because the awards come out mid-year, although they're saying, these are the awards for 2015, it will include some games that came out in 2014.
So, I've noticed that Kerbal Space Program won Best Indie Game, but I've had that game for years.
Well, that was
Then-
early access for a long
Yeah,
time.
how long was
There
that?
you go.
Has it actually been released properly yet? Or...
Yeah, so it's
regardless,
on.
it's been around for a long time.
It's out of early access. It's had its version 1.0, and I think that's what they class for the purposes of these kind of things, the release to be.
Yeah, see,
It's
I'm,
like-
not in favour of GTA 5 being on this list because, I mean, yeah, the PC version came out this year, but
It's the
it is
same
basically
game.
a port of the PS1, PS4, Xbox One
Yes,
version.
one version.
That'd have been a very
Regardless,
different
I do
game.
agree with the best multiplayer game being Grand Theft Auto Online.
Agreed.
Because it is
Oh, yeah.
continuously
it's very,
updated.
very good. It's very good.
So much
And
fun
that's
with
also
that.
less of a when it was released and more of a community thing. So it can, obviously the community is very strong for it now. There's loads of new releases for it, so I'm more than happy with that one.
I must admit, I'm not too sure about best handheld/mobile game going to Fallout Shelter. So everything that was released on iOS, Android, Nintendo 3DS, and PlayStation Vita, and Fallout Shelter fucking won.
Sam, we covered this last week. There was nothing released for the Vita.
And now there never will be ever again.
I thought that was just best mobile game, so I was okay with that. But I didn't. They snuck in the
No, best handheld/mobile.
But then what's
agree with that.
then what's come out for 3DS and well, I was going to say Vita. What's come out for 3DS this year that's really been standout?
I think Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby would have been eligible for this award.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Pokemon games, you know. I'd rather have a Pokemon than Fallout Shelter.
Well, they do say that the most wanted game is Fallout 4, so it might just be sort of riding on the coattails of that.
Well, this is a
Less
problem.
the merits of its own game and more of what it represents.
Alright, this brings us to a bigger issue with these kind of awards, because this was public opinion vote. And when you have public opinion vote, you're not looking at objectively what deserves it. What you're looking at is a popularity contest. And also, I remember when voting with these, the choices were actually quite limited. There were games I would like to have seen that just were not there. Sorry.
no, I get what you mean with that. It's
yeah.
That's the thing.
I mean, if you want anything,
there's a few categories where I didn't vote just because either I hadn't played all of like many of the games on the category, or I just didn't agree with any of the choices.
Yeah. Gaming personality of the year, PewDiePie.
Well, he's objectively the richest.
Well, that's YouTube, isn't it? So I call that a success.
Yeah.
Just because we're not personally maybe
fans
of him.
Does he have a personality, or is he just loud and screechy?
Well, I'd call that a persona, maybe less of a personality, more of a persona.
I must admit, I did agree with him when he. I've agreed with him twice, and both times he was talking about money. The first was when he was like, "Yeah, I've got so many million subscribers, so many billion views. I get ad revenue. Yes, I earned $7 million. I don't. That should not shock anyone." And the second was when he came out about YouTube Red, and he said, "Well, YouTube Red is in response to AdBlock. You know, when AdBlock came out, my revenue went down 40%. And you think it doesn't hurt anyone? It does. And now you're facing the consequences in the form of YouTube Red and people trying to battle against that so that they can continue making money and continue giving you the content, where all you had to do was sit through 5 seconds before." So he usually sounds quite up his own arse, but he usually has a point.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I agreed with him on his perspective over Nintendo's creator program.
Oh, speaking of, did you see they gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Satoru Iwata?
Yeah.
That was in good taste. I approved of that.
Peter just had to look up who Satoru Iwata is.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Pete. Are you kidding me? One of the fathers of gaming.
I don't have it. Well, I have a Wii, but I never play it. I don't really do Nintendo.
I'm just looking actually at how many awards The Witcher 3 got, because I grabbed Witcher 1 and 2 in a Steam sale, and I sort of want to play through those before I get to 3, but
if you include CD Projekt Red getting Studio of the Year, they've got like 5 awards on here.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
It's sort of making me think maybe I should just skip Witcher 1 and 2 and jump straight into 3, but I don't know if it's one of those franchises where you can do that.
I'd imagine it probably is. I mean, you think of the size and scale of those games, it must be.
Like, I played Resident Evil 2 before playing any other Resident Evil, and I was fine.
I doubt it's going to be a Metal Gear kind of thing.
That's what I'm worried about, that it might be a Metal Gear kind of thing.
I doubt it.
I'm sure you can look it up.
Although Metal Gear did get Critics' Choice, and it also got, I believe there was another award that... Nope, no other award. Just Critics' Choice. Oh!
Yeah, I'm still not even in the slightest bit interested in Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm just like, meh.
Richie, you'll enjoy this. Innovation of the year.
I've just spotted that as you said that.
First
person mode. First person is not an innovation.
It is absolutely brilliant, though.
It's
GTA
brilliant.
was the first game where you could go first person.
Of all time, yeah, absolutely.
It's not an innovation. There are plenty of games where you can choose between a first person and third person perspective.
But can you name any sandbox games where you can go first person?
Far Cry 4.
What do you call that? I guess you probably call that sandbox.
I just love how there was no hesitation. It was just like, 0
Okay,
milliseconds. Bang.
but in Far Cry 4, can you sleep with a hooker, kill her, and get your money back?
No.
Well, in number 3, you sleep with what's her face.
Yeah, but that's not.
And you do kill her in one of the endings.
GTA 5 Masterclass.
Yeah, but then on top of that, of the year, that was in the PS4 and Xbox One version last year.
Yeah.
It is a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're all agreed that ain't an innovation, and they didn't deserve to win that
I don't
award.
spend much time in first-person mode in GTA 5 anyway, because
I do.
it's a bit weird.
It's
I
very
find,
disorientating.
especially when trying to aim with the guns and stuff, it just doesn't feel like regular first-person shooters. There's something weird feeling about it, and I can't pin down what it is.
Oh, yeah,
For me, it depends.
It is a normal FPS,
Yeah.
definitely.
It depends for me.
If I'm races with people, I lock everyone in first-person mode just because.
if I'm just sticking about, then yeah, first person all the way. If I'm actually trying to do a mission or something serious, third person.
Yeah. So what else we got?
Speaking of,
The big surprise is gaming platform of the year went to Origin. No, I'm kidding. It went to Steam, of course.
Steam will just win that year on year, I think.
Although
their customer service is awful.
That's like the first time they started doing it, and they've just won it ever since.
Yeah.
Oh, one quick thing, just on GTA 5 and first person mode. Have any of you played the new Stalker game type?
No, I haven't.
No.
It's for the Halloween update. It forces you into first person mode. There are 8 players. 7 of you just have a flashlight and nothing else. And then 1 player has a shotgun. And the 1 player has 3 minutes to go around and murder the other 7. If the 3 minutes run out, then the other 7 get given shotguns of their own. It's sort of meant to, like, it feels like playing an old slasher movie. You know,
that sounds amazing.
That does sound pretty good.
It is so much fun.
To give that a go later.
Oh yeah, it's so good. It's available until November 16th. I believe that's when they're pulling it. However, if they're smart, then I really hope they make it a regular feature of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the free mode events were permanent, so there's no reason why they wouldn't.
Let's hope so. But yes, I'm sorry for cutting you off, Pete. I absolutely agree that Steam should get Gaming Platform of the Year. However, they are terrible at customer support still.
Yeah.
My
They
friend
are working to
Davey.
improve that though. They've made changes. They basically said that that you won't see any changes in the front end because Steam is so big that they have to make so many changes in the back end systems and the back end processes before you can see an improvement. But they are
But at
very
the same
aware
time,
of their customer support.
My friend Davey had an account takeover on Steam. He only just got his account back. It took him 3 months to get his account back.
Yeah, that's pretty
But,
unacceptable.
I don't know if you've opened up Steam recently, but you will say they've added things in like putting
The
Steam
mobile
app on your
phone thing,
putting your phone
yeah.
number in, so that you can much easily get your account back if you get locked out or something like that.
I think one thing they really need to change with Steam, me and you discussed it previously, Sam, is curation. Because, like, I remember you saying that you're not happy with how, like, there's the 30 FPS police using the curator system as a negative thing. I think they need to add in some kind of form of negative thing then to facilitate that.
True. They need to... I mean, some people were saying that when they're talking about the specs of the game, that frames per second should just be one of the standard things they divulge.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, that'd keep everybody happy, right?
But then frames per second is different on any machine though.
True.
And it also even depends on if you've got other stuff installed.
I think what we're looking at
what we're referring to specifically is when games are capped at 30 FPS.
Oh, in that case, I completely agree with if they're capped, that should definitely be put on the very front of the box.
Or even if it's not,
FPS, do not buy.
Even if it's not necessarily, guys, even if it's not necessarily locked at a certain FPS. Even giving maybe realistic expectations, you know.
Again, it differs so much depending on your hardware that you just can't you just can't really give even a ballpark figure. Because even if you've got the same hardware as someone else, if you're running a different OS or if you've got some background programs running, or any number of things can affect the FPS in quite a large amount. So I don't think it would be.
So it'd
fair
have to be something like up to 120 FPS and a big old asterisk, and at the bottom somewhere saying, if you have a 20 grand PC.
Another thing they need to get rid of as well is they should get rid of developers being able to delete negative reviews. That is just completely wrong.
Agreed.
No arguments there.
It allows you to manipulate how your game is perceived, basically.
Some of those Steam Greenlight Unity assets.
Oh, don't get me started. I think Jim Serling's covered that so well that we don't need to.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Just a little kind of, look in that direction. That's what we talk about.
Richie, you got anything to add, pal?
No.
You're like Silent Bob on this podcast. You're just like not saying too much, but you'll come out with like the ultimate words of wisdom, like at the end.
It would be so bad if someone didn't keep pointing it out.
I'm trying to include him. Something that, would be nice if you guys did a little bit of too.
Judging by the face he's making, I'm not going to try and include him. He's a big boy now. He can do it himself.
Shall we get on to the fan questions of the week then?
I don't know. There's still a few things we haven't covered here much.
Are there?
Like what?
Well, like for instance,
like what? Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a few categories we haven't discussed yet. Let's see.
Wireless adapter, done. Arkham Knight PC, done. Tabloids.
No, I mean the joystick awards here.
Oh, the joystick awards. Let's see.
Oh, is that what we were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Best original game, Bloodborne, covered. Storytelling, Witcher 3, done. Visual design, Witcher 3, done. Audio, Ori and the Blind Forest, done. Multiplayer, Grand Theft Auto Online, done. Indie, Kerbal Space Program, done. Family game, Splatoon. Alright, I'll give you that, but most of us don't have Wii U's.
Oh, right, so I don't have Splatoon anyway, so fuck it.
Yeah, you don't even have Splatoon.
I've never been able to play it because her internet's so slow out in the countryside she can't join a game. It's such a worthless game.
Yeah, I know all about that.
True.
What, about being worthless?
No, about worthless internet connections.
Well,
Most played
Ashley Birch
award,
for the
Grand
performance
Theft
of the
Auto.
year, definitely agree with that.
What was that?
Ashley Birch, the voice actor of Chloe from Life is Strange, definitely agree with that.
Yeah, although please don't say anything more about Life is Strange because I still haven't played it, and I've already had one gigantic spoiler this evening.
Well, don't share it because I haven't played it either.
No, I haven't played any of them, and I do plan to.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not going to spoiler any of you. All I'm going to say is, for the love of God, play it and play it soon before you get spoiled anymore, Sam.
Yeah. And then the only other one we haven't talked about, mate, is esports icon, and none of us know who the bloody hell the bloke is.
Do you not know, Richie? You normally follow this kind of thing, don't you?
Who's that?
Not for
esports
Counter-Strike, he
icon.
doesn't.
Bloom.
No. Does it say what
He
game
plays Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Oh, I don't follow the competitive Counter-Strike scene.
Fair play.
So no one knows who Anders Bloom is. So yeah, we've covered it all.
Oh, okay then. Let's continue to fan questions then.
Right, okay, thank you. So, Lupasillo's ones from last week, which again, apologies that we decided to record early. So, one, how much does artistic view influence your enjoyment of a video game? Do you enjoy a game like Akami or El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron, in which the main attraction is the outlandish art style? I'm going to go first by saying I don't enjoy a game because of its art style. There are games that I have enjoyed more because of their art style. Like, I enjoy Guitar Man so much more than I would have otherwise because of its quirky art style, but I think that just complements everything else really well. I couldn't get into a game that had a really nice art style but absolutely no substance. The gameplay has to be there first, then we'll talk art style. The art style alone cannot carry a game for me, which I think is what you're trying to ask.
What about something like Journey? You know, the sort of quote-unquote art games, like, you know, the ones where they're sort of more based around looking at the external environment around you.
With Journey, again, I think that a lot of what they do isn't necessarily in the artwork. I think a lot of what they do is in the pacing and the experiences, because while people say, oh, it's just walking, there is some platforming, there is some puzzle solving, there's a really tense shit underground with that giant rock snake thing and the searchlights. There's actually, when you think about it, although it's incredibly simple, there's a lot of interactivity and gameplay within Journey. If it was literally just that art style and walking around, say like Journey played the same as Dear Esther, for example. I can't fucking stand Dear Esther. That has no art style and no gameplay, but if that had as gorgeous an art style as Journey, it still wouldn't save it.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
This question actually reminded me of the one he asked last week about style over substance. And the only thing, what I should have answered for that one, and will do for this one, is I love the shit out of Kirby's Epic Yarn. I really love the art style because it's something really different, and it's worked into the game quite well because obviously he's Yarn, he can do yarny things, and it's such a happy little game as well. There's no and you can just do whatever you want in the level. Like there's no real way to fail the game.
So in that case, you also enjoy Yoshi's Story on N64 and Yoshi's Woolly World on the Wii U, plus I guess Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo.
Quite possibly, but I've never played any of those games and barely played those systems.
Well, they all have lovely art styles that feel similar to Yarn.
Really fun. It's a really pretty game, and it does help. I think it's not why I enjoyed the game, but it definitely does help, and it does draw you in the style of it. Absolutely. But I don't think I've ever bought a game based purely on maybe seeing a picture of it and thinking, I quite like that art style, I'm going to buy this game. I don't think I've ever done that.
I don't know, I think a lot. I think there's been some games that draw me in from the art style, and then like the gameplay has kept me there. Like, I don't know, I can't be drawing me in through the art style.
Are you saying that the art can be used as the initial hook, but if you get there and there's nothing behind the art, you're not going to stay around?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Richie? The art as well, because you can use playing the game as just to extend the art. If there's more art further down the game, you kind of want to carry on playing just so you can experience more of the artwork that you're enjoying.
I thought you were going to go down a different route there. I thought you were going to say like Super Paper Mario, where it's a very 2D game, everything's drawn flat and 2D, but then they use that in that you can flip the world into 3D to get past certain obstacles and bits like that. I thought that's what you were taking it. In which case, with Super Paper Mario, it's one of those rare extensions where the art actually becomes a gameplay element.
I'm thinking less in terms of a gameplay element and more just sort of like walking around an art gallery or something like that. You
just want to see more of the pretty
by being a part of the game,
right?
And sometimes art can work like as a deterrent as well. I think, like again, those Unity asset games all look like ass, that kind of thing, or like. I don't know, like Mighty Number 9, for instance. I'm just not interested in that because it looks like generic Xbox Live Arcade aesthetic. The same aesthetic that keeps being used over and over.
Richie, where do you stand on this?
Well, I was going to say the only game I can probably think of that's the closest example to that is Limbo. I probably bought that on the basis of how it looked because it's very dark and different, and there's obviously that very particular art style to it.
Very creepy.
On that basis, I think that's the closest example I can think of. Maybe not on the art style, but I think how it looked was what drew me into it.
Okay. Is everyone happy for me to go with question 2 then, or?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are having a hard time impressing anyone because of how unremarkable they are compared to the previous generation? Right.
I don't know what's meant by unremarkable. they are objectively better systems, and you get graphics. And I don't think that they haven't impressed people. I think there's still been a fairly good uptake in the number of consoles.
Their controllers are much nicer, I'll say
Yeah.
that.
I think it probably suffers from the fact that we obviously were at the end of the life of the PS3 and the 360. We know how many is sold, whereas we just can't tell what's going to happen with these consoles. We haven't seen their whole lifespan, so they might just suddenly become brilliant next year just because of the games or something. And they might
according to the actual sales figures, the PlayStation 4 has done better sales-wise than both the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2 had done this far into their respective life
cycles. How's it doing compared to the 360, though? Because last gen, the 360 was kicking PS3's ass.
It beat, as far as I'm aware, the figures I've got, it beat the 360, but the Wii, when it was this far in, the PlayStation 4 is sitting somewhere around the 24-25 million units mark. And the Wii, at this point in its lifespan, was sitting closer to the 35 million mark.
True, but the Wii was its own monster, though. Like, it was basically appealing to a fickle, casual audience that ended up buggering off, hence why the Wii U is sitting at about 12 million now.
Yeah, true. I think with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, some people have complained the games library isn't there. For me, I've actually had a lot of fun with my PlayStation 4. There's a lot of games like Batman Arkham Knight, Knack, Infamous Second Son, Infamous First Light for that matter, Far Cry 4, just a ton of different games I've been playing on it.
I think it's because we're still at that stage where we're getting last-gen versions of games coming out at the same time, and I think we're kind of getting to the point where we're getting past that stage now. I think
we've had the cut-off now, like Fallout 4.
Far Cry 4 was on 360, if you can believe that.
It did seem to take quite a while. It seemed to be quite a long period of time where games were released for both the current gen and the previous gen. I don't think that's really happened that much before.
I think it seemed longer than 8
Although obviously I'm aware that the PS2 was kept alive for quite a long time by wrestling games and
well, the other thing you've got to remember as well is that we've gone from gaming being in its infancy to gaming actually having more of its stride now, and the technology's come a long way. So I think in previous generations, you look at the gap between, the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, huge jump. Super Nintendo to N64, absolute revolution. Then to the GameCube, oh my god, what is this? Whereas now, like when we went to the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2, very noticeable. PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, yeah, you could see it. But now, you're like PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, well, the PlayStation 3, the end of its lifespan was pretty damn good. So the PlayStation 4, yeah, it's objectively better, but it's a lot harder to see the jump up now.
I think another thing as well is that, like, when it was sort of around the PlayStation 2 generation, like, that was when PC gaming was starting to get more sort of console games. Like, you get a game that comes out now, like Wolfenstein, it's on PC, PS4.
Why do you guys keep saying
One.
Stein? It's Stein.
Whatever. Anyway, so they're all coming out for that. Whereas you go back to like 2002, 2001, the first Call of Duty comes out on PC, but at the same time on Xbox and PlayStation 2, they're getting a different Call of Duty game, Finest Hour. So there's no point of comparison there because they're completely different games. The libraries were very separate, whereas now there's less exclusivity. So because of the fact that PC is working in parallel with all this stuff, the jump from the previous console to the new console isn't seeming that fantastic because we're seeing the same games on PC, running like quite well already.
So for you, they don't have that killer app.
To me, like most of the performance I've seen on a lot of PS4 games has been sort of similar to how we're seeing like PS3 360 era games on PC running, just because of the fact that obviously, when you got a PC, you're not restricted by 5-year-old hardware, objectively speaking. I'm not saying this as a deterrent to consoles, I'm just sort of saying this just kind of,
I think you're answering a different question to the one I asked you, and I think it's because I worded it poorly.
Bear with me. So, like, because of the fact that there's more people getting into PC gaming now, there's less people sort of seeing that spectacular graphical jump. That's the thing.
Right. No, so what I'm saying is different to that. When I say it doesn't have a killer app, I mean you can only get Mario on Nintendo. Right now, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, I don't see those strong exclusives. You can only get these here. I don't see the game that will sell the system. That was more the question. Sorry.
Most of the people I know who have Xbox One and PS4s, not all of them, but most of them, I tend to be people who aren't into PC gaming.
Yeah.
And don't have that extra bit of freedom. I think that's a big factor in it.
Exclusives don't tend to be a big system seller these days. A lot of the time it's, what have my friends got? A lot of the time I hear.
Okay. Well, Richie, you've been holding off and holding off and holding off on this generation of consoles, so I'm very interested to hear your views on this question.
Well, I don't think either console is particularly underwhelming. I don't think that's fair to say. And I think part of the problem for me, why I can't pick one, is because both are equally as good, really. I don't think, to me, one stands out more than the other. I know you
PlayStation
guys
4 is objectively better.
And all that, and that's great. The PS4 looks awesome, but then there's no reason I shouldn't get an Xbox One to me, because it's got very similar games overall, and I quite like my Xbox 360. I didn't have a PS3, so I'm not familiar with it. I'm not particularly sold on Sony. The last Sony console I had was a PS2, so I've got no reason to jump ship necessarily. So the problem for me is, because I've got the PC as well, as we were talking about, there's nothing exclusive that makes me need to get either console, but I do want one. But because either...
Right, so it comes back to that they don't have their equivalent of a Mario. They don't have their equivalent of, you can only get this here. Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it quite a lot up to its release. For me, the thing that really wanted to sell me a console was Rock Band 4. And it still kind of does. But I can't justify going either way at the moment. I still can't decide.
I mean, the thing is, exclusives aren't always a system seller anyway. Like, I mean, you've basically sort of had this sort of perspective on the Wii U as well. You know, it's just basically the same Nintendo franchises that I've played before anyway. I don't want to play the same thing again. Whereas any new IP, you know, it's a risky area to get into.
For me as well, a console is something I could play in different areas of the house. My computer, I can't move around. If I want to play GTA 5, I have to go to my little corner of the living room and sit there with my headphones on, and that's the only place I could do it. If I had an Xbox One or a PS4, I could take it upstairs and I could play in bed. I mean, it's just
you should check out what
extra bit of convenience.
You should check out Peter's setup then.
Yeah, see, I'll just run a HDMI cable from my office to my living room so I can play my PC on the TV.
So that's what I need to do.
It's my new console.
You see, no, I'll agree with Richie. I'll agree with Richie in so much as my PC is up in my attic room studio. My PlayStation 4 is downstairs in the living room TV. Console gaming is a much more social thing, because if I play the PlayStation 4, then my other half and my kids will sit and watch me. They'll backseat game. If it's a multiplayer game, they'll play with me. So if everybody's included and involved when you're playing on the console, and it is easy to move it room to room, whereas the PC, I have to come whole up here. And I also think, because I need a desk for the keyboard and the mouse, that means you're then in quite close proximity, typically, to the monitor. So it's quite hunkered over the screen, solitary experience at that point.
It depends on your own personal setup, though. Like, everyone's setup is different. I mean, Peter's setup, he's got it running to the TV. He's got a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse that he can just use on his coffee table, for instance. Everyone's setup is different, so PC gaming can be sociable. I was playing Rocket League with Adam the other day, split screen with Xbox 360 controllers on my TV, for example. So it is literally just the size of the PC that's more the issue here than anything. Then if you've got a set up like Peter's, and you're sorted.
I think also the release of the wireless adapter for 360 controllers for PC is something that's really blurred the lines for me. Because you never really, like with the PS2, you never really got that. There were a couple of adapters you could get where you could plug your PS2 controller into the PC, but there wasn't that mainstream. And now you find any game I start up on my PC, it goes, oh, you've got a 360 controller. I've got a mapping for that. You can just go straight away.
Yeah, X input changed the game, definitely.
Yeah, so I think for me, I have all the benefits of a console, which is I can play it in my living room, I can play it with a controller, I can even do multiplayer on a lot more games now. And I've got all the benefits of the PC, so I've got better graphics, I've got cheaper games, that sort of thing. And
mods, don't forget mods.
Yeah, and I've got mods as well, so I think the lines have become very blurred recently, and I just sort of think, I don't think the 360 and the PS4 are the Xbone and the PS4. I don't think they're really they're not hard done by. They're still selling very well. I just think we've gotten to a point now where people are starting to get a bit set in the ways, and now
they're not meeting a need.
Hmm?
Like, they're not meeting a need. You don't have any particular gap for them to fill.
Yeah, and there's been less and less exclusives now where you think, oh, what are the exclusives on the PS4? Oh, Metal Gear. Oh wait, no, that's not exclusive anymore.
Knack, Infamous Second Son, Infamous First Light, Killzone Shadowfall.
Yeah, they're not like really
Bloodborne.
big system sellers like Mario. You know what I mean?
Bloodborne, come on.
Even that's not, even that is still relatively niche compared to, your big multi-platform games like Call of Duty and stuff.
Okay.
But, I mean, as well as that, though, I think it is a bit of an unfair thing to say that they're not spectacular. Because, I mean, how long have they been out now? Like, only 2 years, isn't it? Because the Wii U came out in 2012, and they were out a year later. So, yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the PS3 and 360, what did they have after 2 years of release?
We already did that comparison. The PS4 has sold more units than the PS3 had.
I don't mean the sales. I mean the actual games they had. I mean, 2007 on 360, all there really was until Call of Duty multi-platform came out was Gears of War and Dead Rising, and that was about it.
True. Right. We'll move on because we're spending a lot of time on the one question.
All right.
So we've got some questions from Koshoro Guy. There are, looks like 5 of them again. And there's also a comment from Quickswear saying I sound like a young Total Biscuit. Interesting. Don't know whether to feel honoured or not about that. So, question number 1 from Koshoro. What are some of the best speeches you've ever had the pleasure of listening to? Not gaming related, but I went to a panel at Melksham Comic Con in 2011. It was at a point where I'd kept saying I wanted to do a comic and hadn't put any comics out because work got in the way, my other half got in the way, the kids got in the way, so on and so forth. And yet here were 2 guys who were in their mid-20s with day jobs and all the rest of it, the same as me, and they weren't making any excuses. They'd gone ahead and they'd just done it. They'd found the time, they'd put a comic out, and they were giving a panel, basically. So it was like they were talking to us, getting us all enthusiastic and riled up, and obviously trying to sell their book, too. And that night, on the back of their talk, I went home and started work on my first comic, Arcadia. So probably wouldn't be self-publishing if not for that talk.
So we know who to blame then.
Yes. Hey, you keep buying them, so.
For me, I think the only thing I can really think of speech-wise is something that I keep thinking back to is I don't know if any of you have watched Bowling for Columbine, and it's sort of about sort of the gun culture and stuff in America. And the bit that sticks out for me is when he was speaking to, I think it was Marilyn Manson, and basically talking about how, your music, all this violent music and films and stuff. And Marilyn Manson gave a really good, pretty much off the cuff speech about how explaining how it's not related to any form of music and how people are going to do what they're going to do, and it's just like a blame culture. I don't really want to paraphrase it because you just need to listen to it. It was really, really well put, intelligently said. And it's just something I thought, wow, I mean, I was already convinced, and I'm now super convinced that...
But then, at the same time, he said something really smart when there were the Doom shootings, as they ended up being known. And they said, oh, well, apparently these boys listen to a lot of your music. If you'd have had the chance to say something to them before they went and did this mass shooting, what would you have said? And he turned around and he said on the interview, I wouldn't have said anything to those boys. I'd have done the one thing that no one else did. I'd have sat down and listened to them for a while. So in general, he's a really smart guy when it comes to that kind of thing. Terry, Richie, who wants to go?
I don't have an answer to this question. I can't think of anything.
What do you mean
The
you
only thing
don't
I
have
can
an
literally
answer?
think of is just do it.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf.
I really can't.
I don't know. I like the sentiment of it.
Okay. Shia LaBeouf lets. Just to give credit where credit's due, the speech I was referring to was a panel given by John Locke and Nick Angel. If you look up Big Punch Studios, you'll find them. They have books including Afterlife Inc., Seven String, Heavenly Chord, and a quarterly comic book magazine called Big Punch Magazine.
Oh, I didn't know it was John Locke that did that speech.
Yeah, John Locke, Nick Angel. They were
Yeah.
giving it together, yeah.
Yeah, no, I met him at a couple of expos. He's a cool dude.
He is. He's got a weird mustache thing going on at the moment. Though.
Yeah.
He keeps taking out a miniature comb and just like brushing it while talking to people, and it just throws me off.
Fair.
Richie, can you seriously not think of anything?
I genuinely can't.
Your input has been invaluable tonight, Richie.
I'm just glad to be here.
Oh dear.
Next question.
Yeah, sure. Question 2. If you could kill anyone with any gaming console, handheld, or PC, which would it be, why, and how would you kill them?
I actually had a question that was kind of related to this that I wanted to ask. Because I thought of a cool answer is I would take an original Xbox and I would mount it on a big pipe and use it as a massive hammer and just boof,
And shout, "I'm Thor,
Splat.
motherfucker."
Crush people from the head down.
Yeah, and you could even, like, using the old school, if you had the controllers as well, you could get the big old school controllers, just swing them around on the lead. I bet that...
Oh, like a pair of nunchucks.
Yeah, you could tie two together with nunchucks, and the nunchucks is you probably hurt yourself. Well, I would hurt myself more than anybody else. So...
I would probably strangle somebody to death using the cable from a Dreamcast controller, and just be, and as I was choking them to death by wrapping the cord of the controller around their neck and pulling tight, I'd probably be like, "You let the Dreamcast die, so now the Dreamcast is killing you."
But don't forget to slot into that little bit on the back of the memory card holder.
Yeah. True. Richie, you please have one for this.
I was actually going to go with the whole nunchuck idea, which you beat me to with the Xbox controller. I was just going to say the nunchuck from the Wii. Use them as actual nunchucks rather than just gaming ones.
The controllers are pretty deadly to TVs, as the internet found out. So
yeah, just
Terry?
Wii remote.
I did kind of knock someone out with a Wii controller once, actually.
This sounds like a story.
It does.
We back when we lived with my parents. We were having this party, and we were playing the baseball game. So I was getting ready. I had it behind my back. I was getting ready to hit the ball, and as I hit the ball, somebody came up behind me to try and get past. So I just went whack. I hit this guy, and literally his glasses flew off and hit the wall. He fell onto the three people already on the sofa, and I'm pretty sure he blanked out for a little bit. And I felt so bad about that.
That's awesome.
He walked behind me while I was swinging a nunchuck.
Blunt force trauma. Fantastic.
Yeah, he's fine now, though, I think.
Are you okay, Terry? Are you alright?
It wasn't Terry, it was another friend.
Jesus.
You don't have other friends.
Another good one could be twatting someone with a Guitar Hero controller.
Oh,
That'd be pretty rock and roll.
As long as it's not the one with the detachable neck. I'm just going to call it the neck of the guitar. Because then you'd hit them once and just the main part of the guitar would just come flying off and you'd just be left with the neck handle.
You could sharpen the neck part and then just use it to stab them after.
So you hit them with it once, it comes up and you go, hold on a minute, I've just got to sharpen this bit. And
then spear them with the remainder.
And then 10 minutes later you shank them with it.
See, I think what I would do is I'd give someone a first edition, first model Xbox 360, and then just wait for it to burn them and their house down.
Okay.
Ooh, burn!
Nice.
Just send Microsoft some burn cream.
Play the long game.
Yeah, no, I'm really on Microsoft's case tonight. There's the freaking adapter, there's the consoles.
It'd be a really weird way to explain it, though, wouldn't it? It'd be like, why are you giving me this Xbox? Just go home and
No
leave it
reason.
on. You'll see.
Maybe leave a towel over it, you know.
But 6 hours later, it catches fire. Oh, I get it now.
Only 6 hours. All I can think.
I think Richie's being generous there.
All I can think of now, looking at my PS3, is imagine if you can make it shoot the discs out, like proper. So you press the eject button because that means you're standing in front of it, and bam, no legs.
Yeah. I know you use a way to get your sonic screwdriver to eject.
Well, question 3 is one that I think we've sort of already answered when we were answering Lupacillo's questions. So it was, what are some of your favourite art styles within any given game? Now, naturally, I talked about Guitar Man. Pete talked about Kirby's Epic Yarn, which then led to, obviously, a bunch of the Yoshi games. I kind of feel like we've covered that one. I don't know how you guys feel.
I mean, there's lots of cel-shaded games like Wind Waker and stuff. You know, cel-shaded is hard to get wrong.
I like fighting games with big sprites. So, like, Street Fighter 3. Beautiful game. Big, chunky sprites. Love them.
Yeah. What else is there?
I also like games. This is going to sound incredibly gay. Games where the muscle structure on the guys sort of looks quite chiseled. And hang on, sort of it looks a bit caricature-y in that it's very, very clearly defined shapes, but they don't look natural. Like it's it almost looks like, instead of being natural muscles, they almost sort of look like they're wearing armored skin. You know,
Your
that
voice
kind
changed
of.
when you started describing that stuff.
Sorry, are we still talking about the muscles on this guy? I kind of blanked out for a little bit.
Yes.
So.
Does anyone else feel a bit hot?
Oh dear.
Christ.
Obviously, Richie, I'm guessing the art style is a huge part of Binding of Isaac for you.
Yeah, they're very. The original and the remake were very different. The original was very smooth, flash-based animations. You used to see in a lot of old sort of Newgrounds games and things like that. Whereas when they did the remake, they did it in the more sort of 16, 8-bit pixel type style, which was very different, but works very well. So
It does suit that kind of game very nicely.
Complained about it and weren't very happy about it, but I think we've all adapted to it now.
Oh, I think it looks lovely for what it is.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, Super Meat Boy as well.
Yeah, similar style.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Although that's less
how do you feel about
pixely and
big
more
muscly
vector.
guys?
Well, where do I start?
I am not going to live that one down for a while, am I?
No, I'm just gonna get the sound clip of you just describing the chiseled muscliness and just use it for something.
I'm tempted to Photoshop Sam holding like a muscly man monthly or something. This could be me in only 6 to 8 weeks.
Perfectly chiseled muscles.
Oh, I'm just going to give a shout to Mega Man Legends as well. That had quite a nice art style behind it. And the original Tomb Raider, the architecture in the original Tomb Raider, due to the low-res, oddly coloured textures and the blocky nature of everything, actually genuinely felt alien. It's the only game where I've actually felt like I'm exploring uncharted territory or something that's truly unfamiliar. And it's also one of the few games where the environments can genuinely make me feel uneasy. And that's all in the art design. I think is a beautifully chosen colours, lots of really nice little details, and it just feels alien, and it's supposed to. So well done, original Tomb Raider.
I'm also going to mention Flower, just because it's pretty.
Okay. So question 4 then. If you could pick a few genres of games that you think are lacking more titles within said genre, which ones would they be and why? So basically, I take that as which game genres need more entries. I want more Guitar Mans.
Yeah, same.
Rhythm games, definitely more rhythm games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Big fan of rhythm games.
Rhythm games that just make use of a controller and don't require like a big Guitar Hero controller.
Yeah. Old school Tomb Raider style games. Shenmue style games.
Arcadey racing games like Burnout.
Oh god, yeah. I want another game, another 3D platformer that feels like Croc, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon. I guess Ratchet and Clank is filling that hole at the moment, but Ratchet and Clank is sort of holding the fort on its own.
Yeah, and there's Yooka-Laylee on the way.
Yeah, that's true, but that's not out yet.
Mario 3D World is lovely.
Yeah, that's weird. It looks like an isometric platformer, which should never work, but apparently it does.
It really does. I love it. It's one of my favourite games of this gen so far.
See, I wouldn't trust that would work gameplay-wise unless if I hadn't played Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS. That's what sort of gave me faith in 3D World.
Yeah, to be honest, it is basically 3D Land very similarly, but obviously, they've refined the formula, added extra bits and pieces. That's what Mario does, really. Just sticks to a good core formula, but keeps sort of adding enough to make it new, kind of thing. And that makes it sound quite bad, but it works. I'd rather that than Sonic Boom.
Oh, Sonic Lost World is on Steam now, by the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've already got the Wii U version, but if there's any awesome mods that come out for it, like extra levels and things, I might be tempted to get the PC version too.
I might pick it up.
I'd really recommend it. I think you'll find it quite interesting to play.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. Anyone else got anything they want to add on this question before we move on, by the way?
Let's see, genres. Well, we haven't got enough shooters.
Yes. I think my answer to this would be games probably that maybe don't have a huge ending to them, but have a lot of content in the middle. So something like, for me, I really enjoy like Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon, those sort of kind of micro
games,
simulator type games where there is probably an end to it, but you don't necessarily have to play for the end. You can just
Richie,
for the fun of the
do
game.
you actually have an answer to a question? Are you actually contributing?
Oh, thank you.
Fucking hell. Carry on.
No, I just like all this. I quite like micromanagey type games like that.
Time sinks.
Yeah, so Animal Crossing, I put the new one on the 3DS. I played that. I must have played that for at least 100 hours before I got bored of it. So that says a lot about it, doesn't it? You don't really do much in that game.
No, true. Pete, anything you want to add?
All I can think of is, actually, I probably should have mentioned earlier about the art styles as well, is games like the Stanley Parable, where I can't really explain the Stanley Parable other than if you haven't played it, give it a play, because I think it's really well put together, and it's kind of makes you think and stuff, but go and play the game, and maybe you'll see what I mean, but I wholeheartedly recommend picking it up.
It kind of challenges your sort of preconceptions of video game interactivity in a way.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
The new game.
No, I really need to get that.
The Beginner's Guide. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, haven't played it.
That's on my to-do list as well.
Yeah, same here. To be honest, as much as I joked about shooters, I would like to see more sort of story-based single-player like FPS games. Like they all seem to be aiming to be esports games at the moment.
Yeah.
Like I've really enjoyed Wolfenstein New Order and Old Bloods a hell of a lot. So I want to see more of that.
More of them. Just more games where I can be that guy and shoot Nazis. You never get bored of shooting Nazis.
I mean, apart from those, like Half-Life 2 was so long ago. I want to see something like that again. You know what I mean?
You mean like Half-Life 3?
That's never going to happen. Realistically speaking, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing we've had to a new Half-Life is a fan-made remake of Half-Life 1.
Black Mesa.
Yeah.
Right. Let's carry on then to the final question. Question number 5. This is quite a wide cast net. What do you think is the most pointless thing in today's society? This can be pretty much anything, so have fun, chaps. I'm going to go with, this might seem like an odd choice, a 5-day working week. A population has increased. The amount of tasks that can be automated have also increased. Therefore, our need for people to do things has decreased. So we've got more people and less work and high unemployment rates. So why do we still have a 5-day week? If we took it down to a 4-day working week or a 3-day working week, we could bring a lot more people into employment and improve everybody's quality of life and general life satisfaction by giving them more leisure time and more time to spend with their friends, family, and loved ones. So I see the 5-day working week as archaic and pointless.
I don't think the 5-day working week is the default anymore, to be honest. I don't think I know that many people actually work a 5-day week. So many people I know are working different hours. Like, for example, your hours are 4 on 4 off, Peter. You know, that kind of 4 days on, 4 days off.
Right, but I'm sure in his contract somewhere it probably still equates to an average of 35 hours a week.
I think you're more talking about sort of the 40-hour work week. And interestingly enough, there are a few companies in Sweden that are trying out a 6-hour day. So it's not all companies, it's not everyone in Sweden, but they're obviously trying it out because I think their culture is very much personal life over work, and they've recognised that productivity of an individual worker has gone up so much in the past 10 years because of automation and because of the general state of IT at the minute. That and basically every study that's been done has shown that people are productive for 2 to 4 hours a work day, and the rest of the time they are not productive. You can try and work for longer, but you just don't get much done.
Unless it's something you're very passionate about. When I'm working on comics, for example, I have been known to do like 12 hours straight just working on a single comic page, but that's self-motivated work.
Yeah, and also
so I think that's different.
You can even say about a lot of people even say, if you had a job in comics, there's still going to be parts about that job that you don't want to do. Purely because you're being told what to draw, you're being told what to do.
I usually find with most jobs it's dealing with people that turns me off the job. I find I'm not. I find with my day jobs historically, not necessarily saying currently, just in case my boss is listening. But with day jobs historically, I spend a lot of my time not doing the job I'm there to do, and that's not through choice, it's through the day being broken up. So say you've got a complex problem to solve, like I go in and a particular piece of digital content isn't behaving the way it's supposed to. So I'm going through, I'm looking at how it's been built, how it's been coded, etc., and I'm trying to figure out what the problem is, yeah? To kind of figure out that kind of complex problem, usually I need a couple of hours straight thinking and going through it, logically disassembling it, reassembling it, figuring out what works, what doesn't, so on and so forth. However, the day is broken up into get in, check your emails, grab a coffee, get working on something. Oh, what does Lisa want? Okay, sort her out. Right, get back to what you were doing, spend half the time remembering where you were before you got interrupted. Oh, there's a team meeting for an hour, go in there, come back out. Again, remember where you got up to, start working on it again. Oh, hang on, it's lunch, go on lunch, come back. Do you know what I mean? You never get really that straight 2 hours working on the thing you need to work on.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, there's a lot of workplace practices in a lot of places where there's just all these things that are just pointless practices in general that have nothing to do with your job description that you just have to do just because routine or whatever.
You'll find better jobs or better managers, people that can actually manage.
Yeah, but the problem is most workplaces have shit managers, to be honest.
I don't think it's necessarily a management issue. I think it's just I think it's just how modern workplaces operate. I think to a degree it's unavoidable. But yeah, no, 5 working day week. I just don't see the point. We've got too many people, not enough work. And like you said, people are only productive on average for 2 to 3 hours of their 7-hour work day. So yeah, I'd go with that. Opening the floor to you guys on what you think the most pointless thing in today's society is. And if anyone says Terry, I'm just going to get Koshoro guy's answer out there already.
Okay. I don't know, pointless things. Well, talk about, I guess, outbound call centers.
Oh! Terry's making a personal strike.
To be fair,
there.
though, they must be getting sales if they're still functioning and existing as a thing, but they just don't do their company image any favors.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
They're annoying. I don't know anybody who gets an outbound sales call and goes, yes, actually, I was thinking about double glazing. Let me have a chat with you.
On a similar vein, I think I'm going to go with, it's like an outbound call, but not when it's made by a person, when it's made by a pre-recorded message.
Robocallers.
Has anyone
Auto-dialer.
stopped to listen to that and then gone ahead with it?
Do you know what you guys need to do? You need to sign up to the TPS service, which makes it illegal for anybody to phone you unless you've specifically given them permission.
They still call through those. My parents are on that.
I don't get many of those calls. It's just the example. I think what you said spurred me into that example. It's just.
I keep getting calls about.
No one ever goes with it.
In the last 2 years, I've had one guy, and I told him it was illegal for him to call me, and he just went, and then I just said bye and put the phone down. One call in 2 years.
I have had a couple of calls, and they want to talk to me about the car accident I was involved in.
Oh, God knows.
I don't have a driver's license, and I've never owned a car, so that's interesting. I would love to know about this car accident I was supposedly in.
My friend was like, "Oh, which one was that?" Like, what? Yeah, which car accident was it that I was in? Because I don't remember it. That's how you put them up.
That must have been a really bad accident if you blanked out, you know?
Thank goodness, the police haven't even arrived yet. You've called me.
Yeah. But no. Thank you for warning me about this future-dated accident. I will tell my future self to look out.
Again, I've already mentioned it. Britain first. Fuck them.
Yeah, alright.
They serve a purpose. It means it gives us someone to laugh at.
Oh, yeah. And remind us that even if we're feeling shit about ourselves someday, at least we're not like those people.
It makes you feel morally superior.
Fair enough. Pete?
I don't know. I don't really want to get rid of anything. Like, society is this big interwoven tapestry, and you start pulling on one little thread, and it could all come falling down.
Oh, coleslaw and onions.
Do you know what I was going to say? I genuinely was going to say coleslaw. That's going to be my answer.
Does anybody like coleslaw? If you like coleslaw, leave a comment, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay. Right. I think that about wraps us then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone got anything they want to say before we go?
Bye.
No.
No. Okay. Well, in that case, thank you for joining us this week. I've been Sam. Over there somewhere is Richie.
Bye.
I think we still have a Terry.
Yeah, he's around here somewhere.
And we most definitely have a Pete.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.